Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Hi,
Hello.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes for Neha and we can get started from there.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey Neha, can you hear us? While we're waiting for Neha, Nusrat or Rabia, any questions from your side?
No, not so far.
Can I assume that you guys were able to catch up on everything we have covered so far and
Yeah,
go through the notes and all those things?
exactly. So I'm listening to all the previous lectures and
Mm-hmm.
trying to memorize all the terminologies and understanding the concepts. And I was also working on the interview questions. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in the process.
Okay. How about you, Nusrat? Are you following along?
Um, yeah. Actually, I was listening all the lectures too, and I was practicing for the BRD and user stories because I really need to know the all the concepts of those two
Yes,
things,
that's very important.
especially.
Yes.
Hmm.
Mhm. I don't know why Neha is not able to join. It says joining, but this doesn't join her. Mm,
So James, I have a question. I know like you are going to talk about all these interview questions thing. So just like whenever you are talking about this, so you said I saw one of your previous video. I think it was from July batch or something, where
mhm.
you told and you also told us in the class that while they were interviewing us, they can give us a scenario or open any website and ask us to write down the BRD.
Yes.
So my question on that was that, like, when they will open any page, are they going to open just one page or click it, or do they ask, like, are they going to process us, like when the customer click on that website, whatever appear, we have to write on the whole PRD for that specific page, or the
It
processes or for steps?
it's very hard to answer because they could ask whatever they feel like they want to.
Okay. So we need
So
to write down the.
mostly I would feel that it will be just one page and you should be able to answer from that. But
Mhm.
I believe it's very hard to can that answer saying that it will be only one page always.
So
They
yeah.
might give you an application and say that how would you go about this application?
Okay. Got it. Yeah, that was my only concern. Like, do we have to start from the scratch for everything, or do we have to start from the middle? Are they going to ask like, okay,
They
how
will
will
they
we
will give
write?
you that information when they are
Okay.
giving you that use case to write
Uh-huh.
requirements on. They will give you that use case and tell you this is the starting point and this is the end point. And
Oh, okay.
if they're not clear, you can ask what is the start point and what is the end point.
Okay.
What I have seen, what
Mhm.
I've heard from students, they just open a random page, a random
Mhm.
website, and tells you to write the requirements on that page
Okay.
or on that feature.
Feature.
Like if you're
Okay.
booking an airline's flight ticket
Mhm.
or you're trying to do an e-commerce experience, right? Something on
Yeah.
those lines. You just try to talk about that experience in front of you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's
Hey
much
Neha,
better.
can you hear us? You're on mute if you're speaking.
Yes, yes, I can. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So
A bad throat, so I can barely speak today, but thank you for the class today.
No worries. Sorry, I missed. You said you're not feeling well?
Yeah, I have a bad throat today.
Oh, okay. No worries. This class is mostly for me to speak today, so you should be good.
Okay. Yeah.
But I hope you will feel better and it's nothing serious.
Yeah, hope so. Yes. These days you're more worried in
Yeah,
case you
Texas
have.
is like number one right now in terms of
Yeah.
coronavirus. I am worried to
Exactly.
go out with my son and my wife sometimes here and there because even for grocery shopping these days. But staying at home is so depressing for them. I
Yeah.
completely enjoy like staying at home and be at home, not good, not do anything. But my family doesn't feel the same way.
Yeah, because they
And for
Exactly.
want to
right
stay at
reasons, right?
home. Yeah,
Yeah, for
that's
right
very
We
true.
reasons. So
also met a couple of friends yesterday, two of the families. So I'm just worried. Hope everything is okay.
yeah,
Yep. Good wishes for
definitely.
you.
Cool, guys. Thanks for joining the class today, and thanks for being flexible in last week. I actually wanted to share what happened. So, in one of the applications that we have in our production environment, what we did was we people are applying for right, and uh, there was a point where the things were broken in a way where people will submit for the loan, but they will all get denial in return. They will never get approved from the website. Something broke in terms of Equifax. Equifax and Experian credit, Equifax, Experian, and there is one more. Forgot the name of that. There are three big credit bureaus in America, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So something was messed up between them and our company, and something just went so crazy that none of the users were actually getting the app, like approved application.
Mhm.
So it was a big thing because you are putting a note in someone's credit score that they were
Yeah.
declined for this application,
Oh wow.
right? It becomes a
That's a
big
big one. Yeah.
legal thing
Yep.
because it will reflect on your credit history now.
Oh my God. So
So
who will be responsible for that? Like
so
the.
there were multiple things. We had to work with them and we had to circle back and try to make sure all the customers who tried their credit history is not impacted. We work with Equifax and other folks, and there were like a chaos. So
Yeah.
it was a very deadly. And I think once you guys will start working on, you will see when there is a production issue, like you have no personal life at that point. You need to get on the call and get things done.
Yeah.
So and it's for valid reason, right? Because it was a huge scenario where if someone's credit history is compromised like that, people can
Exactly.
sue you, and company has to pay hefty amount to settle that claim.
True. Yep.
So hopefully things worked out. We worked on so
So were you
when
guys
you
were
choose
able
vendor
to?
product, right? Sorry, what was that, Rabia?
Were you guys able to resolve that issue? Or are you guys
Yes,
still
we were
working on
able to.
it?
It was mostly not on our side. Our
Mhm.
system was showing information based on what we got from Equifax, another company.
Oh,
The
okay.
issue was on their end, so we were stuck like testing something on our side. But for
Mhm.
customers, we are the customer face, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because they are applying for a loan on our side, so we are the
Yeah.
customer face, not them.
Yeah.
So never mind. I think we were finally able to resolve it. Lot of back and forth and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Things are better now, so that's one good thing. We did not have to spend our weekends in it.
That's good.
When there's a production issue, you might feel sometimes, or when there is a release, sometimes releases last for 36, 48 hours. you do not go to sleep for
Yeah,
2 days.
exactly. It's stressing.
But that's very rare scenario when you are going with a massive application launch. You go into that those situations where you will take turn after turn to stay awake and make sure things are going well. For
So
companies
what
like
did
Southwest, what was that? Yeah.
yeah, so what did you learn from that situation? What was your main takeaway from that situation which happened
Main takeaway
yesterday?
was, right, whenever things like this happen, right, so it's a third party vendor company, right? If something breaks on vendor company side, they have alerts internally to monitor themselves.
Okay.
Those alerts were not coming to us. So I think the biggest takeaway was that whenever you are working with the vendor company, whenever their systems are down or the systems are not responding as they should be, we should be notified that very minute. So we can bring down our application so customers cannot go through our application. We can show a message, hey, our systems are down right now.
Yeah.
That was the biggest takeaway, because once customer goes through that process and gets a decline, that's a risk.
Mhm.
So I think it's about the notification alert. It's a simple fix. They could have solved this,
Yeah.
but how to, like, having a proactive communication and building that proactive communication channel would be very helpful.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's the basic learning. May not be a huge learning because a lot of companies might be already doing this, but our company is not. So this is where we are. Cool. So I think that was the production issue, and let's talk about the actual agenda for today. I think did I send the interview recordings to you all, or I have not yet?
You sent one from, I think it was from previous batch. You sent one
Previous batch.
recording for
I
them.
have one more that I'm going to send to you all after this class, but I really wanted to have this class first before I send that information to you all.
Sure.
So
Thank you.
the information that we had shared in the previous the recording that I've shared for the interview, like that was those are the questions where someone asked me, right? Like how would I answer those questions?
Yeah.
And I really wanted you guys to hear that, because whatever we discussed in that class in terms of testing and in terms of that 1 hour interview session,
Mhm.
mostly it covers 40-50% questions that you would be going through in your interview.
Okay.
Like, tell me about yourself, tell me about a project, what is your strength, what is your weakness, what are your how do you write business requirements document, what is agile, what is waterfall, how do you solve a conflict when your business person does not give you requirement, how would you work through him, and all those things, right? So those are all
Yeah.
basic questions for a BA and a product owner role. But there are a few things that I wanted to focus on the class today, which was not in that recording, was on the interview questions for a product owner and scrum master. And I'm also going to share one more recording, which will have the details of detailed list of questions of business analyst and product owner, and another hour and a half long recording on the interview side.
Okay.
I've talked about one package in that, like, because my previous batch was a little different. So please ignore that package information, but everything else in that session is really valuable for you to know.
Okay.
Okay. So before I move forward, any questions from you all?
Not anything from my side.
Okay, so I'll probably just go ahead and start. Usually, whenever I take these interview sessions, I do not come prepared, because it's like someone is calling you and you are answering them, right? If you
Yeah.
sound prepared, or if you sound like you have ratified things, it goes against you.
Yeah, that's true.
So I try to give my honest answers and honest take. I might make some mistakes, but it's completely fine, right? And it's acceptable in the interview as well. So I would first like to talk about the Scrum Master role, and then we'll talk about the product owner role. So, kind of questions that you will get as a Scrum Master, right? Uh, let's go back and let me share my screen. So you can get the questions on Google. You can just search and you can find most of the commonly asked questions right there, right? And you can start preparing your answers around them. Most of the questions will have the similar answers, but you just need to find out, hey, these 4 questions are the exact same questions, and I could pitch these answers there. That's where you have to go back and study after this. Okay. So I'll go through this. There are a list of 20 questions, and they've also given the answer. I'm not too worried about the answer. I'll let you read on your own way if you want to, but I'll just walk you through quickly what I would answer for each of them. Okay. Because I think you guys should be able to apply for Scrum Master jobs, but let's see how it goes. Because I'll be taking your mock interview and we'll go from there. So tell me about yourself and why you want to work in this role as our Scrum Master. So I'll do one thing. If you guys are looking at these questions on the screen, I'll let you ask me these questions and I'll start answering. Okay? Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, hey, this is James. It was really nice to get on a panel interview today, and I'm feeling good to talk with you guys. Do you have? If you guys can go ahead and start asking me questions if you have any.
Okay. So I can ask you the first question. James, tell me about yourself and what you learned in your previous job as a Scrum Master.
So that's an interesting question in terms of what I learned as a Scrum Master, right? So, as Scrum Master is a very heavy role in terms of leadership where we have to drive the team constantly, make sure the team is motivated. We have to work with product owner, product management to make sure that the scope is always in control. We are not getting a lot of last minute changes and like ad hoc requirements, right? So I'll give you some examples and we'll go from there. So I worked as a Scrum Master for about 8 to 9 years now. I have performed uh, I have created high performing teams in last few years, and some of these teams have also won the Center of Excellence awards in my company. And my key focus while working with the Scrum team is on making sure that if we have 15 stories in the team, like in a backlog, I will be on top of on each of those stories to make sure who is working on that, what is the progress on daily basis for all of those stories. If there is any roadblock, I would try to resolve that. I will try to take that ownership on my side if there's a roadblock, and I will find that right person who's able to solve that. One of the key things that I see that I do, which not other people do in my company, is I try to focus on the stories that did not get completed in first week of the sprint, because we just have 2 weeks sprint, and if we do not talk about the stories which did not get complete in the first week, there is a slight risk that those stories will not be completed in the next week. So I would really want to make sure that when I talk about those stories which have not been touched yet, what is the plan around that, and I would adjust those stories while talking with product owner and product manager. So that's what I've been doing as a Scrum Master, and there are a lot of learnings. Of course, there are points where how to improve the team, which I will be getting from the retrospective session, and working with team, resolving teams conflict. When team feels down, make sure that there are positive reinforcements in the team. We'll schedule hourly sessions like at the end of the month, like happy hour or virtual sessions, just to make sure that we are all bonded together really well. So teamwork is the key here, and I will try to focus a lot on team activities. That is the biggest takeaway I have as a Scrum Master. If you have team activities and if your team is aligned, they have the same energy, you can win the battle without any issues.
Okay, James. Tell us why should we hire you as our Scrum Master?
Because you don't have one.
That's true.
So I feel the level of knowledge I've acquired so far in my career, and I looked at your job description very closely. I feel that the kind of skills I've acquired is very closely aligned with what you're looking for, and I do have the domain knowledge that you guys are looking for. I have worked in several areas in terms of domain. I've worked with several different type of teams. I'm at a point in my career where I could also take some senior level roles, not just like being an actual Scrum Master, and I can execute these Scrum Master responsibilities really well, and not just for one team, but like 3 or 4 teams at the same time. So my like the skills that I've acquired so far, I'm so proficient and efficient in that right now that it just takes me a couple of hours to manage one team. So if I have 8 hours, I could literally manage 4 teams at the same time. And I do this because I have created some frameworks on my side, and those frameworks are like, again, whenever I go into the daily stand up, I try to I have 4 or 5 different types of ways to run daily stand-ups. I will go into each meetings and I will try to do something new. I will always go with the mindset where it's okay to fail. I will not I will not penalize people as a scrum master that, hey, why did this story not completed in time? Instead of that, I will ask him, hey, what we could have done to get this story complete in time, right? Because that will give me a perspective when we assign stories next time to that person, that, hey, this is what we could have done as a team to make sure that, because it's a team effort, I am as good as my team. So I feel that I have gone through a series of experiences, ups and downs in my life as a scrum master, and for my teams, have been creating high performing teams, and I believe this is what I can bring it to the table when I will join your company, and your company will be hugely benefited out of it. Cool. Next question, please.
Okay, can you share any experience that you had with the toughest stakeholders, and how did you resolve it?
That's an excellent question, because a lot of times I do run into a situation where it's not like a tough stakeholder, but it's more like a tough situation that I run into. And everyone is doing their job, right? Because everyone wants to come to the office and wants to make sure they're doing a good job. So they're just doing their part, they're just playing their role. So I'll tell you about a situation where I was working with my product manager, and he was working on a high visibility project, and he wanted to get this product out like in a month or so. And team was consistently telling me that this product will take at least 3 months to go live, because we need to write the user stories, we need to create the mock-ups, we need to write like we need to get into design discussions and make sure everyone understands what's going on. So the product manager was super adamant on getting this thing done getting these things done in a month, and he was proposing to not write detailed user stories and all those things, right? Just like write one-liner user stories, give it to someone, and so we can save time here and there. So I went through the entire proposal given by him, and I actually scheduled a meeting with my team, including product manager. And I just wanted to make sure, because if team can feel they can do it, I don't have any issues, right? I'm not the one who's going to develop the code or write the code. It's more on the person who's going to write the code. So I would rather have that person talk to the product manager and share his concerns, or why product manager is pushing first of all. So there has to be a common ground, right? So I requested product manager to give the brief discussion or brief description about what we are trying to achieve as part of this project, and why is this so sensitive, right? So he gave that explanation, our team was at a level where they understood this is really important, because it was coming from a senior executive team, and at the same time it was very important for our customers. So they did understand. So they had a request that what are the high priority items that we need to achieve for this project, right? He had a big list that needs to be achieved. So we made him rank those in the right order. And once he did that in the right order, our team took a step up and told them, hey, this is what we can do, and in 1 month. And if you need anything else to be done within the same time, we will need additional resources, or we will need additional team. Can you please arrange that for us? And surprisingly, of course, everyone is under the heat, and resources were not available. So we agreed to deliver a smaller product first in that 1 month, and incrementally add new features after that. So I think that having that meeting where I brought in product manager and developers together, where they brainstormed their ideas, they provided examples why we can do this and why we need to do this, it was really helpful. Instead of me going and telling team, hey, this is required, it was helpful when product manager said that it is required for a reason. I would probably, there are other situations which I would run into, but this is probably the best way I've seen so far to solve this kind of issues.
Thank you. So my question is this: can you briefly like tell us about how you facilitate your daily Scrum meetings? Like, what is your framework on conducting that meetings?
Yeah, sure thing. So usually I focus on three key things. What you have done yesterday. So I've done it in different ways. The one way that I've tried is what you have done yesterday, what you are doing today, and what is stopping you. This is what I start with if it's a new agile team. But as I get more matured in terms of sprint ceremonies, and like team is more matured, I would try to do it in a little different way now. What I do is I would open the board in front of them, and I would check the status on each story on that board. and I would ask them for each story, what did you do yesterday and what did you do today? Because sometimes when they give us just a general update, this is what they did yesterday and this is what they did today, it's not easy to find out which stories they have worked upon and how many stories are still remaining. So I literally open a board every single day in the morning time when I'm having a meeting with them, and I will review that board and find out where we are on daily basis. And we also have a burn down chart based on which we are measuring the progress for each story. How many hours are burned for each story and how many hours are remaining. So we can find out if there is any risk. If we need to adjust any priorities, we can do that. So this is another way that I've handled the on daily stand up. And recently I've tried one more way where I see that I don't want to make the meeting as boring. So I tell people, hey, you can take someone else's name once you're done with your update. You pick someone else's name, and that person will be that person should be providing his update after that. So that it's like going in around the table, but you have to just call out someone's name. That has also worked well because people are more attentive, and people feel that's more fun. So there are numerous ways, and whatever suits for the team, we can go with that approach.
Great, thank you.
Okay. How would you deal with discord or conflict in the team?
So there would always be some conflicts in the team because we are all working on in such a fast-paced environment, and like there are times where things could have been done differently, but we realize that so late in the game that we are at a stage now where release is postponed or release is at risk, right? So the best way when I feel that two team members are in conflict, I would try to find out first of all what the conflict is about, right? Is it about the misrequirement? Is it about the bug? Is it about some new change that has come in? Is it because there is some gap in someone's understanding? What is the reason behind that? So once I understand the reason of the conflict, I would try to bring the team back towards the solution, talk about the solution of that conflict instead of talking about why this has happened. I would try to focus that why part into the retrospective session. So I would literally tell them, hey, we can talk about the root cause why this has happened and what we could have done differently in our retrospective session. But since time is our enemy right now, let's just talk about the solution and let's just get done with it.
So, do you have any? I'm sorry, I'm just asking in further, like with this point of view, do you have any experience which you can quote or any story which you can quote how you resolve an issue among your
Resolve an
team
issue in
members?
terms of
In your team members, like for example, you have any conflict in your team, and a few of your team members were not agreeing upon on solving the problem, and they were like giving you rebuttal on that. Okay, like kind of a blame game thing. So, how you handle that
yeah,
part?
of course there will be, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just the mindset with which we approach things. So when we work in the company and when we're working as a team, like for one of the project I was working on, uh, there was a heavy conflict between the developers and testers. So testers were talking about that, hey, we did not get stories in time because of which we're not able to complete stories within the same sprint now. And developers were like super occupied, because of which they were not able to deliver all stories within the same sprint. So it was a conflict, of course, for a good reason, right? Developers wanted to get done with stories earlier, but they could not because their plates were full, and testers wanted to get stories earlier in the game so they can complete stories within the same sprint, but which was not happening sometimes. So this was a good conflict. It was a good conflict to solve for. So what I when I was talking with testers, I checked with them like what are the things for the same stories that they could do in advance, right? And I was talking with developer at the same time to find out how could they push the stories earlier in the process, right? Then releasing at the end of the sprint. So there was some interesting conversation that happened, and we found that testers can start writing their test cases and write their automation scripts and all those things in advance before even those stories have been rolled out to the development from the development side. So as long as that work is done, and development team, what we recommended them was when you push any stories, right? If you feel that any story is at risk where it won't be completed in this sprint, you need to call us. You need to talk about that earlier. Just inform everyone that you will not be able to complete this story, so we can make some other arrangements for that story. And if that story is going to be worked upon in the same sprint, and you have other high priorities, then tell that tester that the stories will be in test environment only after this date, and there is no other exception. We cannot do anything here. So testers were really happy at least to know that, hey, this story is expected to come only after a few days, not right now. Because they don't have to keep nagging the developer and go into the discussion, hey, I'm waiting for the story, give me the story. It is not that kind of discussion, right? Because they know exactly when they're going to get that story. So they can focus, they can reprioritize their work, and they can focus on other stories which are already available in the test environment and get done with them and only have this story remaining. And again, for this story, they will have done all the automation work and all those things in advance. The only thing remaining is the actual testing. So it really helped them to. So testers did some work in advance. Development team tried to escalate things in advance, and we were able to raise and put in some dates there for each story. Really helped us solve the situation.
Thank you.
Cool. Anything else?
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I have a question. What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses?
So it's a. I definitely feel I'm a proactive person. When I go and talk to my team, uh, I just don't go with an open question. I would always go with a suggestion and some research behind that question. I would not just go and ask a question to them directly. I would have some suggestions to them. So proactiveness really helps in that stage. I feel the leadership style that I have, it has really worked well because I like to empathize with my team more than telling them that this is what they have to do. I would understand their problem and then try to find a solution which suits them and not just like we want to get things done and we should be doing this way. So I don't command them or I don't force them to do something which is not required for them, which they're not comfortable with. My communication skills and kind of experience that I've acquired so far definitely makes an exceptional candidate for this position because I worked in this environment and I exactly know how to prosper and how to deliver products at an insanely fast pace for this kind of environment. So I believe this could be my strength when I join your company. On the downside, of course, because I'm joining your company for the first time, there would be some time where I have to understand some other personalities in your company and from the team with whom I'm working. So there will be some time that I have to invest, like first few sprints, to understand team's norm, team's morale, and how many conflicts we have within the team, and what are the gaps that we have to find out. So I would not know that on day one, but I think it will take about a few weeks to find that. But once I find that, I'll be actively work on that, and we'll be bringing those things to resolution in a month or two. So not knowing that thing about your company at this point can make that process a little slower for me because I have to come up to the speed on that.
I really like this answer
Mhm.
because you cover all the strengths in this, like all qualities which I think Scrum Master they are expecting from Scrum Master. It's really good.
Yep. Mhm.
And weakness also, you didn't really show that it's your weakness, but you covered that part really well.
Mhm.
So,
Anything else? And this is the first time I actually tried that as my weakness.
yeah, but it's really good. You handle it really well. Like it is in short your strength, like indirectly your strength, but it could be a weakness too.
Mhm. Anything
There was
else?
a, yeah, there was a question I was about to ask you. Can you scroll a little down because there was a very
Yeah.
um, so how will you answer this one? Where do you see yourself in 5 years or whatever time span they will ask you
So
in this current
this is
situation?
a broad. This is a very broad question, and I do have goals for myself personally and professionally to be somewhere in 5 years. But I think disruptions are happening at such a fast pace right now. It's very difficult to say that I want to be XYZ or I want to have XYZ designation in my company. I don't run after designation. I think I get more motivated to do my work if if customers who are using the product and the product that my team is delivering is being successful, right? I would love to see myself when I'm joining as a scrum master for any company. Instead of just managing like 3 or 4 teams, I actually manage the entire portfolio for some company. And in that portfolio, I would like to bring in some standards that I've learned, or the skills that I've acquired so far. I would like to implement those things and try to make sure that all the agile teams that we are having in the team, they're all high performing, and they are all able to deliver at least 70 or 80 points in velocity, and deliver products like every month or every 2 weeks. That would be my ideal goal, to manage the entire portfolio as opposed to just managing 3 or 4 teams within a portfolio.
Okay. And can you tell us about your few of your big projects, like whatever the projects, if you can name them?
Yeah, sure. So I've worked on a project where we were defining the business goals for the mortgage website, or the mortgage portal, mortgage customer portal, where people can go ahead and apply for the loans online. And that portal was not doing well. And we had to revamp that entire portal with the newer look and feel, newer calculators, new logic, new user flows and journeys. In addition to that, we were working on something for the marketing, where the entire marketing, like the lead routing, entire lead routing was happening manually for our company. And we had to automate that process, transfer that manual process into an automated one, where everything will be handled by system. So we tried to find out the lead segregation criterias, lead prioritization criterias, and how those leads should be assigned to a mortgage officer, whether it's a one-to-one relationship, whether it's many-to-many relationship, how to handle the like overflow scenarios when we get a lot of leads unpredicted, like in an unpredicted scenario, right? If something goes wrong, we get like a heavy influx of call. How should we handle that? So those projects have been backbone of my career, and I've learned tremendous from that. And and I think the knowledge that I've acquired, there were some failures in that project for sure, but I think the knowledge that I've acquired there, I would be able to prevent those failures for the newer company that I will join. And it is going to help that company, because I already know how to handle those situations now. So it's not a new scenario for me. I can walk into that scenario, I can roll up my sleeve, I can start working, and I can help team come out of that situation very quickly.
I have a question. What would you do if you are working on a difficult project and one of the team member is not performing well, or member is underperforming?
I do run into these situations sometimes, not always, but I I feel it's a very strong gesture to say that someone is not performing well. So my first initial approach, the moment I get to know about this, right, is to work with that person and find out what is his strength and what is his weakness. And I will try to find out that, are we assigning him work for which he is already calling that as weakness? If that is the case, we just need to switch his attention to the things that he considers his strengths are, right? It will help him prosper further, and it will also help us deliver those stories faster. That's the first thing I would try to find out. And after that, the second conversation that I'll be scheduling, first of all, a weekly meeting with that person, right? Because I want to monitor his progress and his performance on a weekly basis. And every week we'll be having these discussions, what he has done good in this week and what he could have done differently in this week to come out of that radar of underperforming. So I've seen, by having these weekly meetings and by showing or being empathized with that person, that hey, I'm here to help you, right? I'm here to help you. Let's just get these things done. I know you are not in a good situation, but you have complete support from me to move out of this situation, and I would do everything that is possible in my power to help you with that. So these things have resulted good has produced good results for me in the past. And but of course there are some situations which are not in our control, and we have to make that tough decision to fire someone, because even after doing all these things, that person is not coming up to the speed, or maybe our work culture is not right for that person. So it's more about our work culture is not right about the person. It's more about our work culture is not right for that person as opposed to that person is not performing well. So in those cases, we do have to make decisions and we have to let go person. But we would try our best to retain that person as much as possible and working with that person.
Okay.
So I have another question. What kind of metrics do you use when measuring a project progress?
So I would use that's an excellent question, right? And I was hoping someone would ask me about this. I usually rely on a burn down chart a lot to see the sprints progress. Other than that, I also go into the meetings for like Scrum meetings, like S2 and S3 meetings, where I will be talking about the team's progress in front of everyone and hearing from other people as well, what kind of what kind of information they are bringing in. So it's a very learning session because you see that all this team is doing such great work. Hey, why my team is lacking somewhere here? Let's take help from other team and see how they're able to solve the situation, right? So I try to be very active in S2 and S3 meetings to get that information to see how other people are solving same problem in different ways. If there is something I could learn, I will try to bring in that same energy to my team or same similar solutions to my team. I would also look at uh, the velocity chart, like how my team is progressing after every sprint, and based on my team's bandwidth, are we increasing velocity or not? The similar stories that we were that if we are working on a similar stories from one sprint to another, are we still counting same story points for those stories, or our story points are lowering now because team is used to working on these stories, so they can practically do this work even faster. So we cannot assign the same points to that story anymore. These are some of the points that I would keep in mind. And team's motivation, there is no matrix for that, but I would talk to each person individually, like one on one every week, to make sure that that person is always pumped up to do more work in the company. If there is anything that is happening in his personal life or something is bothering him, I would try to proactively handle that so team's statistics or matrix does not go down.
Great, thank you.
Oh, anything else?
Yeah, can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
So have you managed more than one Scrum team? Like, is it possible that a Scrum master can manage more than one teams?
Usually it is really it is definitely possible if you have a smaller teams and like when you have like more than one team, your role is short in that team, right? If you're not
Mm-hmm.
going into the product related discussions and all those things, you can still do that. Sometimes there will be some conflicts to manage the meetings, but I think if you have a cadence set up in advance for the grooming sessions, pre-grooming sessions for multiple teams, then you could really handle multiple teams at the same time. Because my job is to make sure the team is on track and team is performing well, and as opposed to going into the requirements and finding out which requirement has not been completed so far. Hey, what is the requirement here? That I leave that up to product manager and developers to hash that thing out. I'm very clear in terms of defining my role and responsibility for a team. So with the clarity in mind, it is definitely possible to handle multiple teams, and I've done that quite a few times in my career now.
Perfect. So, as you said that you have a very clear mindset up with your role. So, what is your leadership style? Can you tell us about your leadership style?
This is definitely a surprising question. Let me see what could I share there.
I think it
I
covers
do
that
not have any
behavior.
specific leadership style in my mind that I'm following, or I just go with the impulse reaction I have in that moment. But usually I would feel I'm a soft-hearted person.
Mhm.
I like to do things by making other people comfortable first. That will always be my first goal, by not insulting someone or by not forcing someone, right? My first approach will always be that. But there are times when we go with a soft-hearted approach, things may not be executed as well as it could have been, because there are some people who would need a firm like a firm shake from you, right? And if time comes, I don't mind switching my head and becoming tough on him and asking tough questions like, hey, why did we not do this in time? What you had all the information, what was missing, right? I will start asking tough questions to make that person realize that, hey, this is not the way we should have done this project. So I would try to go with a soft heart first, and
Okay.
if time demands, I don't mind switching the hat and go into the tougher role.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
And what should we answer them if they ask you why you are leaving your current job?
My project is ending. Simple.
Okay.
Right now, you also have an option when, because of pandemic, my I just got a notice that I'll be laid off in 2 to 3 weeks. So that's also another reason that you could say.
So James, I have one more question. I was just going through some stuff. So there is a question, is there a time when waterfall is preferable over Scrum? What does it mean? I cannot understand this question.
So Scrum works really well for small teams, for smaller initiatives, and that's where I think the biggest thing that Scrum was lacking in the scalability. When we were working on a bigger product, we were not able to work, like there are 4 or 5 teams working on it, right? They are all not on the same page, and there are a lot of confusion happening, like a lot of requirements being missed because multiple teams are working on it. So waterfall can be chosen over Scrum in some companies where they exactly know, like first of all, right, the product is not very competitive in nature. Like not a lot of people are working on that product, so which means that you do have, there is no pressure from the market standpoint. Like if you have 5 competitors in the market which are already doing similar thing, then you want to go faster. But if there are no competitors, if it's a new field, you can you can go slow. That's fine, because it's a new field. You want to make sure that you understand everything. You are the first one to do that. So there is no competition out there. So in these are the scenarios where I would prefer waterfall first, because it gives me enough time to do my research, to execute this project really well, as opposed to just go small and scrappy in the beginning, which is what Scrum is about, right? We just go small,
Yeah.
we just scrappy, we create some product, and then we come back and add incremental values to that. So we make the product more elegant.
Mhm.
But as opposed to if it's a newer product which does not exist in the market, it's very hard to go on that route, because we need to do more research, we need to do more findings from our side, we need to understand everything really well before we can start the project. So waterfall will be suitable in that scenario.
Okay, I got it.
Cool. I think
So
we can here.
yeah, just last question. Like if they will ask you, are you certified as Scrum Master? Do we need to specify some kind of a specific certification or?
So you can say I'm planning to take one in couple of weeks,
Okay, got it.
and you can tell them if it is a requirement before I start my job. If I had to be certified, I don't mind preponing the date and making sure that I get that certification in time.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool. That was really awesome. Thank you.
Not really awesome. I think it's just like so. Again, if you guys realize, I have not talked anything different than what I've talked in the class,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's true.
It's around the same lines. Even I use the same projects. I think it's about the clarity on what you want to say, and it will only come from experience. And more you speak, more you refine your speech,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, from the mock call perspective, I would not be too. I'm not expecting that you guys will be doing 100% on the mock call, right? I know it will take some time, but at least if you get to a point where you're comfortable in speaking about these things, right? That's what I'm looking at. Because once you start talking to recruiters, you'll automatically be refined and you know how to go for the final interview.
Yeah.
So just I will share this recording with you all as well. Just go through this recording and try to form your answers in these lines if possible, or if in another way if you want to, that's also fine. But try to use these jargons that we tried in the class today.
Okay.
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 So let's take a few minutes break. I just have some water, and then we'll talk about the product owner role.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.